warmly welcoming you to How Does She Do It, the podcast, with me, your host, Jo Ferroni. Join me on my journey as I explore finding a gentle balance in both business and life, because being kind to ourselves is our superpower. Today, we kick off the new year with not one, but two guests here on the podcast. First, a little about the business that they co-founded. Songbird Sessions offer the very best in live acoustic music from a powerhouse collective of female identifying vocalists for weddings and events in London, Kent and beyond. Alongside their performance work, they also offer one-to-one vocal coaching for the already established or budding singer with a dream. At the heart of this company are Gemma Knight-Jones and Kelly Fraser, two professional singers with over 20 years' experience in the music industry and education too. Between them, they've worked for artists including Ariana Grande and John Legend, as well as being on primetime TV favourites such as The X Factor and Britain's Got Talent. Today, this talented pair bring you their story, which I found to be deeply embroidered with wisdom, prolific observations, and inspiration that will resonate through you all. One of the core messages that comes through from Gemma and Kelly is to truly trust in yourself and your life path, even if you don't have your next steps mapped out. This deep trust has enabled them both to remain open to receiving opportunities despite not knowing quite where they're coming from. It's really heartening to hear them share how very blessed they feel to do what they truly love. I don't think it could get much better than that. I'm going to let you into a little secret. After listening back to our conversation, I burst into tears. This really is the episode that you need to start your year with, and I do hope that you take lots from it. I just have one quick favour to ask before I let you tune in. If you like listening to the How Does She Do It podcast, I would really love you to tell me so. It need only take 2 minutes of your time, but it really would make my day. If you're on Apple Podcasts, simply scroll down to the reviews and click on Write a Review. And if you listen on other platforms, simply send me a direct message on Instagram or an email via my website. Thank you so much in advance for spreading the joy. Enjoy the show. Ladies, it is such a joy to see you on a cold winter's morning. Snow has fallen and now I feel like I want to launch into a Christmas song, which I'm not going to do because I'm sat in front of two incredibly amazing professional singers. Welcome, ladies. How are you doing?
We are well. Thank you so much for having us both here. It's joy to be with you on this cold, snowy winter morning.
Good morning. Yes.
Good morning. Good morning.
Equally excited to be here. It's been a long time coming. So yeah, really happy to share some stories, fun, joy, inspiration, whatever we can share that's lovely today, we will.
Yeah, you absolutely will. I've been really looking forward to this, and I feel that it would be best to throw over to you to begin with.
So Gemma Knight-Jones, I am a professional singer. I'm an actress. I have worked predominantly in theatre for the last, goodness me, and show my age now, probably since the early 2000s, so probably 2009 successfully. It's been an industry that I've always been interested in from a very young age. I was always interested in performing arts, started dancing and singing at a weekend school at probably age 5 or 6. And throughout, I suppose, my adolescence, it's the only thing out of all of the extracurricular activities that I did, and I did loads, that stuck, you know, through boyfriends, through starting secondary school, through all the other things that you're getting up to that you're probably not supposed to be getting up to. Everything else fell off, but the performing arts stayed in some way. So here I am now, and I am a West End actress, which is just amazing. Like, I still pinch myself at times, I guess, when because there's shows that, and it's happened to me twice in my career so far, that I saw as a child and that I have since been in. And to me, that is amazing. That is just so many things, like just goals ticked and things that I just thought, oh my goodness, I would love to do that. It's just been realized. So a real pat on my back that still happens now, I think. And it's happened again quite recently with the job and the show that I'm in now. I'm in Come From Away. It's a show that I went to see because I knew people in it and was like, this is amazing, this show. My goodness, is there anything in it for me? Which you kind of do find yourself doing when you go to see things. Oh, I could play that part. And went away, bought tickets for my sister because I was like, you have to see this show. It's amazing. Went back again, so saw it twice. And then fast forward maybe a year or so after that, and then got a part in it. So that's kind of where I am as an actress. And alongside that, I've also done a lot of work in the contemporary field, which is how I met Kelly. We both studied at a contemporary music school back in the early 2000s. Again, showing our age. We met there, and we didn't even study together in the same class, but we were put together to do backing vocals for some of our tutors. And it was a friendship that flourished, and it has been just grown stronger and stronger and stronger as the years have gone by. So it's nice to have a bit of, I guess, all of the elements of what I like to do from a creative point of view. Yeah, really lucky and feel quite blessed to be able to, pursue the things that I want to pursue, I think, on a daily.
Wow.
It's so lovely for me to kind of sit and listen to Gemma's sort of story and evolution and growth, because we've been in one another's lives now, as Gemma said, since the early 2000s. And it's always wonderful to look back and to see where we began and where we are now, and all that we've learned together and all that we've seen each other through. And just to hear those highlights, I was like, yes, beautiful. Joy.
I love that. And before we come on to you, Kelly, I'd just love to just kind of pick out a couple of things that I heard through that, Gemma. I mean, gosh, what a highlight reel you've just shared with us. And the two things that really stood out for me are, firstly, that the acting and the stage learning, if you like, really stuck with you through those years where so often everything falls away, doesn't it? Because, you have to make way for the growing and the new experiences as you go through your teens and into your early 20s and what have you. And I just love that you were able to hang on to that. And I think that doing that is absolutely testament to you, because that means that you have been able to fulfill this, what sounds like joy-filled career, where you are able to absolutely fill yourself up, like you say, being on stage every night, and to be able to immerse yourself in roles that, well, you were originally sitting and watching. It sounds like there's a lot of possibly visualization and manifestation that has gone into you arriving at each new point in your life.
And I guess because it's been a love of mine from very early days, I guess even visualizing and manifestation wasn't even something I was aware of when I was that young.
No, not
there
back
was
then.
a desire to do this. And I think what was really important was two things. The support around me was massively important. There's no way on earth I would be here where I am today had I not had the support of my parents, and now going on to that, my partner, that has allowed me to go and pursue the things that I wanted to. There's a long time in those early days of not making much money and doing a lot of work for, for no money. And then before that, I guess, my teachers, it was interesting. I was always really scholastic. I enjoyed school. I really enjoyed school. And then I did my A-levels. And even then in my A-levels, I went to a school just by chance that was amazing with performing arts. The drama teacher was such an inspiration. And it was there, I think, that the fire was lit in me, that was like, oh, this can be a career. Oh, I thought this was something that was just extracurricular.
Yeah.
Something I did outside. It was always something I did outside. So to then kind of have that the thought and the possibility of it fusing, that I could actually do this as a career, that was something that was only realized when I was 17, 18. I didn't go to drama school. I did my degree. And then where I met Kelly at BIM, because it was a diploma in popular music performance, which was brand new in London back then when we did it, it was one of the first, if not the first place, I think, that had offered contemporary music. I was like, this is just pure, like, I just want to do this. It's not for the qualification.
Yeah.
So yeah, the journey hasn't been straightforward, but the things that I attribute getting there has definitely been, like I said, teachers, people around me that have really helped me then go, right, how do we realize or help Gemma realize this dream? And honestly, forever thankful, because it still happens, and still I'm still able to facilitate a career alongside being a mother, having a partner, having all of those responsibilities that are big and vast and very important, and more important than my career.
That's amazing. You mentioning obviously the support of parents and partner is huge, isn't it? Because, we all know someone who perhaps wanted to go down a certain career path, but maybe it was frowned upon, maybe it wasn't deemed important enough, or what have you. So, I think we never take that kind of support and encouragement for granted. But also what you mentioned about the teachers that really helped you along the way as well, and, opened you up to even discovering that there was drama school, even though you didn't end up going that route, that enlightenment. Oh, okay, so that's actually a thing. This could be a career, not just something I enjoy doing. Because actually it's really strange. In the last 6 months, I've met quite a few people that have talked to me about passions they used to have, things that they actually thought they could be good at and perhaps take into a career, though at GCSE or A level, they had teachers that said one thing that was cutting or damning or of their own opinion, but not in a kind way, that literally pulled the carpet out from under these people. I was going to say kids. I mean, we are kids whilst we're doing our GCSEs, even though we don't feel like we are. So to know that the opposite is true is really reassuring, actually, because it's heartbreaking to think that, someone could have their passion just literally stamped on, and then that's the internal voice they have in their heads for the rest of their lives going on. So I love that the joy is there, and you have been able to continue and become incredibly resilient on that journey as well. Thank you for that. That's absolutely wonderful. And I know it's going to be equally wonderful hearing from you, Kelly. Give us a little bit of background, my love.
Yeah, very, very similar stories in, I guess, the heartbeat of our connection and love for singing. But I very much feel and have always felt like singing chose me. I don't ever remember having a moment where I wasn't obsessed with singing or the power of singing to connect me to other people. And I was always just so intrinsically dedicated to this huge burning love that I felt that I'd kind of been planted inside of me, and I had this sort of duty to use it for myself, but in service of others. And I think that's been the framework that's underpinned my evolution and growth, really. As a kid, I always was just drawn to pulling people together, and was, I was the kid organising like little concerts at my nan's fellowship group, and bringing mates together to go and sing at my nan's church and do those kinds of things and just connect. But it was never a question, which is crazy looking back as an adult, but it was never a question that this was what I would do forever. And I'm such an indecisive person by nature, so it's really crazy to look back and think, wow, I don't ever remember entertaining the thought that I wouldn't do anything other than dedicate myself to singing constantly. And I was that kid that just, like Mum said, they used to record the TV adverts and play them back because I'd just sing along to them. And they'd record Top of the Pops. She was like, you weren't the kid watching kids TV, it was just music, just singing, always. I was just obsessed with it. And much like Gemma, I didn't foster that kind of connection with music at school because it was all classical. just music that I grew up listening to a lot of soul music. My parents are big Motown lovers, and I just didn't find a home at school. Music didn't make sense for me at school. I didn't study music, and much like Gem, everything that I did musically was outside of school. I guess as much as I say I was obsessed with singing and I was always going to do it forever, it wasn't so much with an intention to be successful, if you know what I mean. Like the only reason I started having singing lessons as a kid was because I just got on everybody's nerves at home. And Dad was like, she's done all these hobbies. There must be someone else's house she can go into to sing for an hour a week. Does this exist? And I remember my mum getting the yellow pages out and looking up singing lessons. And we discovered that, yeah, I could go and just make noise in someone else's house once a week. And Dad was like, I'm down for it. Like, just do it.
Whatever it costs.
I always remember hearing, like, because I would just sing the same thing on loop, like practicing along to Mariah Carey and Whitney, and Dad would just be like, Kel, how can I put this politely? Shut up. But, and that was how I fell into singing lessons. It purely was my parents just, I guess, seeing this constant need and desire to sing and be musical. And off I went and had singing lessons. And through that singing teacher, she was fantastic. She was classically trained, but she really immersed herself in my love of music and the music that I'd grew up listening to. So we did everything from musical theatre repertoire to Italian opera to contemporary music, and she set up a theatre school, and we went up to the London Palladium and performed at all the different West End stages as kids, doing shows there. And it just, my career sort of evolved really through the connections that I made there. And then I kind of reached 18, and much like Gemma, stumbled across Vocal Tech completely by accident on a chat forum, because I was researching musical theatre schools to go and study at. And I saw Vocal Tech. What is this? Looked it up, went along to the open day, was absolutely blown away by the fact that there was people singing the music I loved in live bands, and that I could go and play with a live band and sing. It was just fantastic. And joining Vocal Tech for me, unlike Gemma, that was very much my progression on from A-levels. And it was the hub in which I've built my whole career from that point onwards out of. The connections I've made, my friendship with Gem and all we've gone on to do, the other tutors, and every job I've taken as a professional roots back to Vocal Tech. It was because it was the only contemporary music college of its kind in Europe at the time. It was just the hub of the best, and people doing such awesome gigs and wanting to give you a foot in the door. And I think the first gig we did, Gem, was Rick Astley at the Shepherd's Bush Empire, right?
Yeah. Awesome.
Through one of our vocal tutors at Vocal Tech. She put a little group of us together to go and do backing vocals for him. And so my career has snowballed, and I've been fortunate enough to, I guess, straddle a career as a performer, but now so more days using music in service of others. And I've always been so passionate about teaching and vocal coaching. And it's something that has brought me so much joy over the last 10 years. I've been lucky enough to work in television on X Factor, Britain's Got Talent, and different shows for ITV, alongside going back to Tech, which is now BIM London, and working there. I've worked there for 12 years as a principal lecturer there, running their choir. And I've recently just graduated from Roehampton University, and I've studied to become a music therapist, and have just taken my first post as a music therapist in a children's hospice. So I'm really at that point, I think, of, I guess, answering my calling to use music in service. And the performing side is there, but it's not as much a focus for me at this particular point in my career, but it's still an incredibly important part of my life.
I love that. I can relate to a few of the things you said, and I think it's just really interesting what different directions we go in, because I was also the girl singing along to Mariah and Whitney in my bedroom recording it. I've still got some recordings. Hilarious, absolutely hilarious. But I was exercising my voice. I was finding my voice, and but always in the privacy of my bedroom. I was never brave enough to get out there and share like you guys do. But I just think it's really, really interesting that music wasn't necessarily something that came to you at school, in terms of being something that you were really drawn to within school because of the classical element and, just the way that they taught it back then. I did do it in school, did GCSE, got an A, loved it, and then went on to A level. And oh my gosh, it just killed me. And it didn't kill me, but it was very much classical music history, very theoretical. And, I'm a flautist. I've played in orchestras. I do love classical, but it didn't give me that variety that I needed. And I think I'm a few years older than you guys. And what you have described with, the tech side of things, the vocal tech, is exactly what I would have absolutely dreamed of as well, but it just wasn't around at the time when I was looking. So to think that you both stumbled upon it through the Metro, through the chat forum, is just like it was absolutely meant to be. And I love that you guys have journeyed, you, Kelly, have journeyed in a slightly different way, but that you found each other when you did in the early 2000s. I remember the early 2000s very well.
So do we.
And I'm not ashamed to say that, but it's just absolutely fabulous to hear such a foundation that you have built and, kept on growing from as well. And I just think that it's just so wonderful that music, or a musical career, does not have to be a one-size-fits-all approach, and this goes for pretty much all of the people that I interview. We can take it in whatever way our heart leads us, or whatever way our contacts and there's amazing, beautiful connections we make can help us to elevate and to explore. And how exciting is that? How exciting.
And I think as well, the one thing that I really want to make clear is that sometimes when you listen to people reflect and talk on their journey, you listen and think, wow, that doesn't seem possible. That doesn't seem like something I could do. It all sounds, when you look back and you talk about it in a snapshot, it sounds like this perfectly polished, well prepped, well planned journey. But really and truly, it isn't that way. And it wasn't that way. I never knew what I was going to do. I knew I was going to sing forever because it was all I loved deeply. But how that was going to manifest in my life, I had no idea. And if you'd have asked me at any given point, what's your next job? I'd go, I don't know. What are you going to do next? I don't know. But I do know deeply that I have to honor this part of me. And that's all I do know. But how that's going to manifest, how that's going to grow and evolve, I guess there was just an openness to receiving whatever was out there and seeking whatever opportunity was out there. So I suppose anybody listening in, it is so possible if you open yourself up to receive opportunities. You might not know where they're going to come from or how it's all going to piece together. And those questions can be really discombobulating to answer. I always remember when I did finish my degree, and much like Gem, I was the first person in my family to go and do a degree. And people would always say, what are you going to do now? And I didn't have an answer for them. It's not the kind of career, where you have a clear cut destiny and path, but there's something about opening up to receive the journey, as it were.
I totally agree with Kelly on that. And also, sort of, again, to make it clear, it's hard to sit in that space of trying to, open yourself up to those opportunities. How long am I going to be in this place of transition? How long am I not going to have that next contract? What do I do in that meantime? It does bring up so many things for a person. But like Kelly says, you do really just have to sit in that trust. You've got the talent by now. you know what you've got to give. You know what you can do in the meantime, or things that perhaps you could focus on instead. And something else always, I think in our experience, we sit back, trust, take that time, take that breath, and something else does come. And it does what happens, I think, with me and Kelly. What's so beautiful, I think, about when maybe our schedules change a bit, it does invite room for me and her to connect more in certain things, you know. I think what's hard about this industry sometimes is you focus so much on the things that you do want and getting where you want to be, that actually you think that when you're not in that contract, so you're not in that job, or you're not working for that person or that TV show, that your self-worth kind of then disappears a bit. I don't think that happens per se with me and Kelly anymore, but definitely we've probably both been in those spaces. And now we've learned that no, actually, in those quiet times, actually, there's so much joy in those times as well. And that I appreciate them loads more, I think, than once upon a time when I was perhaps younger and unsure of myself. And yeah, these days I'm like, well, I know what I've got and I know what I might need to work on. And in the meantime, brilliant.
I love that. And three things have come up for me across what Kelly was saying, and then you as well, Gemma, and you then went on to say the first one, which was trust. Really came to me when Kelly was speaking. It is about trusting in, you know, in what may come, what may happen next, and trusting that it's okay to sit with it and allow. The second thing was, I think it's a very old-fashioned notion, which we still hear today. I'm still hearing it being asked of my kids, and I find it grates with me a little bit. What do you want to be, or what do you want to do when you grow up? And I'll often sort of chirp in and sort of say, blimey, I don't even know what I want to be when I grow up yet. And I'm 45. So, you know, don't you worry, kids, about feeling like there has to be a title.
Yeah, I think I'm not a parent yet, but I look at my parents and think about how much space they gave me and my brother to allow us to flourish into who we were. And there was never any expectation on us to be anything other than happy. I always remember hearing my dad say, it's a long life working, love. Be happy. Do what makes you happy. And at any juncture where I turn to them for, I don't know whether to do this, I don't know whether to say yes to this. Well, does it make you happy? Do you enjoy it? Then do it, love. You know, and it was always, I validated everything by how much it fulfilled me and how happy it made me. And I realized what a gift that is to give to your children as an adult now, because the desire to protect them is sometimes the desire that leads you to want to push them along a little bit into different avenues and paths. And really, my parents really opened up that space for us to wander around a bit and find ourselves in a really authentic way. And really, I have a job that is so unlike my upbringing. And my dad's a carpenter, my brother's a plumber, my mum always had jobs around looking after us as kids. And I've wandered into my career because of the gift of the space they gave me.
And what a beautiful wandering that is. And I think that's what living a life should be. You know, we should be in the flow and follow our heart and not feel that anything should cap that or be wrong or have to be a certain way. And that also brings me on to what you said, Gemma, about that embracing and kind of being quite intentional about the time where things are quieter, or perhaps, you know, you're not taken up in all the evenings because you're not actually working that show anymore. I think that's really important. And it's something I try and speak about a lot on the podcast, because I feel that the messaging we've always received, certainly in, you know, that I've experienced around me as I've grown up, was you work hard to be successful. You work hard to earn lots of money, because that apparently is, you know, the end goal. And, you know, you keep busy, you keep going, you know, you don't sit around being lazy, in inverted commas. And I've very much moved away from that thinking in the last few years. And I feel that it's wonderful to embrace that time.
It feels like a journey that like you're saying, Jo, that you're on, that feels for sure, I think for both me and Kelly, for different reasons, on as well, and a newer journey of going busy. And Kelly will 100% say that she is the voice in my ear for sure that's like, Gemma, slow down. I remember really distinctly when I was pregnant, this is the pace that I work at generally. I was in The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. Now, if you've seen that show, it's a play, it's not a musical, but it's very physical. It's devised alongside a physical theatre company called Frantic. And I remember I was newly pregnant when I got the job. I didn't tell anybody because I didn't want to before that 3-month mark. And I was doing circuit training for an hour every morning, including handstands, everything for strength training for an hour every morning during our rehearsal period. And I was holding on to the fact that I was pregnant. I didn't want to tell anybody at that point. And I just was going on trust and how I felt physically. And I did feel good, apart from dog tired. I got to that 3-month mark, obviously, and was like, there, I'm pregnant. I went on, did the show. I stayed in the show until I was 36 weeks pregnant. And I remember really distinctly, now this show, like I said, so physical. We were lifting a big grown man who was playing a 16-year-old, but was a 6-foot tall, 20-something-year-old, heavy as you like, And I was the one female in a group of 4 that was doing quite a lot of the heavy lifting work, like lifting him above our heads, putting him across a wall, up a wall so it was all about, because he's got autism in the story. So it was about kind of trying to visualize his autism on the stage. And it's a beautiful show. And I was doing a lot of that whilst fully pregnant. And I think only I was probably about 7 months, perhaps 7.5. That's when they bought my maternity cover. So I was able to stay because they took the physical element out. But I remember so distinctly walking through London, Soho streets from my closest train station, walking at the pace I generally usually walk on. It must be a London thing as well. You just get on the rhythm, your head's down, you're not talking to anybody, you're trying to get where you're trying to get, especially if it's cold. That's me, my shoulders are up. I'm just, let's just get to the theatre or wherever we're going. And I remember saying to myself, actually probably saying out loud to myself, Gemma, why are you walking at this speed still, with this big old bump? And having to literally say to myself, you don't have to be going at this speed anymore. But it's such a funny thing, even with this child growing in me and definitely bigger and heavier and, needing to probably just slow down. It just didn't occur to me for the longest time because nothing else had changed, I guess. I was still working. I was still in a show. My mindset was probably very much no, we carry on. Yeah. And I have other things in there, just my own things about me just carrying on and keep working. I'm coming out of a show. I'm not going to work. Whatever the pressures were, it was keeping me on this same just real, full on, fast, we don't slow down, we don't stop. So I think that is a prime example of even whilst growing this child, there wasn't this, okay, yeah, let me just relax into this chill. And even after that has stayed. And it really has taken time, I think mine and Kelly's relationship, the growth of that and how we support each other and, remind each other of the things that we just want to do a bit better. I think it has allowed me definitely to go, okay, no, I don't have to be going at that manic pace that I'm just used to, to going at. It's crazy. And you do, when you give yourself a second to stop and to think about it, you're like, yeah, what? Oh my goodness.
Exactly. And actually on that note, so it sounds like you guys are probably really good at holding each other accountable, looking out for each other, being that kind voice, bringing awareness to certain things in each of your lives as well, which must be really reassuring actually, because a lot of the women that I speak with are working solo. And I know that you guys have got your solo work as well, but you have got that bond and that opportunity to be looked after, if you like, or looked out for, which is really important.
We are so lucky. Our friendship, and Gemma and I say this on a regular, is unlike any other connection that I have with anybody, because we straddle that tension between being friends and being in business and needing to be frank with one another and honest with one another, and things that perhaps ordinarily in a friendship you would perhaps meander around, maybe just not say, not do. Her and I have had to lean in a really big way in order to show up for ourselves in business. And what it's done for us as friends is phenomenal. And it is a completely clear vessel. Everything can flow through that connection with Gemma. The tough stuff, the hard conversations, support, the love. I honestly am so thankful for my friendship with Gem and what it's constantly offering me in my personal life and in my professional life as well, because we know each other so deeply and so well, and we know what each other need and what each other finds hard to ask for. And it's that is just, it's so powerful to be able to support one another in order to make sure that we are offering the best out to ourselves first and foremost.
Absolutely. And I just think that you guys could really support and help so many other people, you know, in relationships, in friendships, in business partnerships as well, because I think these things are easier said than done, actually, having totally open and frank conversations with one another. But of course, once you've got through that, you've gone through that difficultness, if you like, that difficulty, I should say, that you always come out the other side, don't you? And you're always going to come out the other side clearer, obviously, and stronger. I want to speak to you both about the way that you describe yourselves, because for me, when I read this, I just feel my heart burst and I almost feel strong, and it just feels empowering. You describe yourselves as a powerhouse collective, okay? And I would love to take a moment to talk around, and I think we've actually covered some of this already, which is often the way, but I would love for you both to talk around, you know, self-belief and confidence and putting yourselves out there, because actually I feel that with you guys, maybe it's because you've got the performing arts, you know, the performance training and background and, you know, heartfelt desire, or maybe it's because you guys work together. I don't know. There might not be an answer, but I do see a difference in you guys than I do from many of the people that I normally interview. And a lot of the people I interview are solo, you know, putting themselves out there, selling themselves and what have you. But there's a real, power to the way that you guys present yourselves. Talk around that.
Yeah, I think that the industry that we are a part of is a massive reason as to why myself and Kelly present the way we are. We're very used to being on stage. Now, the same as what you've said, Joe, that's a journey. We would have been scared to do that at one point in our lives. But I guess for both of us, because we've done it from quite a young age, you're used to the feelings, the adrenaline that comes from it. You're used to stuff going wrong and having to deal with that in the moment. With the experience comes the knowledge and the tools to work out what I'm going to do to get myself out of that tight spot.
Yeah.
And realizing that you are going to live another day, that you are going to get booked again, or that you are going to get through the end of that performance. There has been times on stage with me and Kelly that she has been reading lyrics to me because I've just lost. I'm not very good at learning lyrics. Well, I don't know. Since post baby or something, my brain's just gone. And there's been times when I've been like, wide-eyed like a deer, looking at her like, what's the next line? What's the next line? Literally. And she's feeding me the next line on stage at that moment. So when you've been through things like that, and you come out the other side and someone's even said, I didn't even realize, you're like, listen, it's all good. It's fine. So I think a lot of that strength, that power, that confidence, I guess, that you're saying that you feel from us comes from experience, comes from the fact that we do perform and have done for a living. You know, I totally get, like, I talked to my partner who is, you know, moved more recently into management, and something like getting up and talking to his team is just the most terrifying thing. It's because you don't do it, you know, you don't do it all the time, you know, and he does it and goes, okay, it wasn't so bad, I was all right. But he would have had to have prepped a lot more and still probably feels horrendous when he's doing it and just hot and bothered. But, you know, it is easier, but it's not easy, I guess. There's still moments when you can still go, right, I don't feel prepared for this, or I'm just not feeling it, whatever it is. It's just, again, you're a whole human, like Kel said, and some days it works really nicely, and other days you're like, oh my God, this is just the most, I just don't want to do, I don't fancy this today.
Fair enough, yeah.
I think personally for me, I do get a lot of comfort from standing alongside Kelly and the other girls that we sing with. I think the Powerhouse Collective came immediately from the fact that when we do sing together, it is powerful. You know, we feel that about music. It hits you, and we want to sing the kind of songs in the kind of way that when we are opening our mouth and singing them as a collective, that they are hitting you in your chest, that you're feeling something from them, and feel and kind of experiencing something is definitely the heart of our vocal style. What we want to create when we're doing arrangements is doing stuff that is going to affect someone. They're going to walk away feeling different about their day, or just in that moment they've forgotten all their worries because they're listening to us. And I think choirs and group singing anyway does that standardly. Voices together is definitely a reason why me and Kelly again started Songbirds, to sing together with people that are like-minded, as there's similar people to us, that we connect in some way to them, and that obviously helps when you're creating a sound. You know, when you've got people that, I mean, your voice textures are similar, but also the kind of person you are. If they're people that me and Kelly, it's definitely a thing that we want to work with people that we connect with. You know, we've been in situations where perhaps people have wanted to sing with us and we just haven't vibed and connected with them. And that is really important to us, because we have to be in a space to create. When you're in a space and you curate, you want to create the right atmosphere to be able to create the best thing that you can out of this moment and this sound and this song. So we are quite, I think, mindful and perhaps picky about the people that we work with from that point of view as well. But yeah, the powerhouse, I think that's where it comes from. Women together, that empowerment, women's voices. I don't know, we chose women from, we just were, I guess around them. Both me and Kelly, I think, attribute our mums to being real strong forces in our lives, have always had strong females around us. We consider ourselves strong females in many ways. And I think, again, that fed itself quite naturally into our company in those early days as well. So I think they're the kind of reasons why Powerhouse feels quite apt.
Go for it, Kelly.
I think for me, power and powerhouse comes from the depth and the richness of our lived experiences and all the break lines that we aren't afraid to go near and explore and wander. And as Gemma said, there's something in the energy and the spirit and the connection between her and I when we sing that is so powerful. And as Gemma said, that feeds through everybody we work with. If we don't connect with them on a spiritual level, on an emotional level, if there isn't that availability, it doesn't work. And I think that it's empowerment rather than a power brittle kind of, we're strong. It's an empowerment that comes from a complete openness and an availability to offer up the whole of who you are.
Wow. Yeah. And it comes across. And I was thinking as Gemma was talking, you know, it literally is from your heart to the hearts of the listener. And that resonance is, well, it's just quite unlike anything else, isn't it? It's incredibly powerful, back to that word again, but it is powerful because, you know, music, singing moves us in so many different ways. I mean, it is so connecting. And I read recently, I've got an awesome book that I'll share with you guys afterwards called Do Sing. And you might have seen it. It's from a series. The series is called the Do series. And I've got Do Sing, Do Breathe, Do Walk. But it was talking around the power of singing in a group and how our heartbeats end up aligning with one another's heartbeats when you're singing and taking the deep breaths and, you know, following the same music, basically. And so heartbeats are aligned as well, which just takes it to another level, really, doesn't it?
There's something about when your voice touches another voice.
Yeah.
This is what I love about singing with Gemma so much, where we've sung together for so long. It's not ever a discussion about finding a blend. And there's a voice I have when I sing with Gemma that I can't hear my voice, and I can't hear Gemma's voice, but I can hear our voice. And there's something about when your voice touches like that, it's unlike anything else. And I think you get that as well with choir, when your voices touch another. So yours isn't exposed. Maybe you can't even hear your own vocal identity, but you can hear a collective sound that everybody's responsible for. Yeah. There's something so powerful about that and so moving about that. And it blows you away as a listener when you hear it as well. You hear that and you're like, oh my goodness, you know, it takes your breath because it is so moving. Yeah.
Oh, very much so. I was it was the first gig I ever saw of London Community Gospel Choir, and it was in a church, and me and Ollie, my eldest, took front row seats, which is way out of my comfort zone, but I love them so much. I was determined, even if I had a panic attack, it was worth being at the front. And the minute their voices, you know, that first note was sung, I just couldn't control the tears. It was like all the emotion that I've ever held on to was just released, because there was that beauty of, and I love the way you put it, Kelly, voices touching voices and creating this magic.
It's like, and I'm a really spiritual person, but for me, it's like souls meeting. Yeah. We spend a lot of time cognitively meeting, talking, verbalizing, thinking. But when you sing together, there's something way deeper within you connecting with those other voices or voice.
You've witnessed that in my lessons, and I'm sure you've witnessed it in many of the other lessons that you've taught, Kelly. But yeah, I can honestly definitely feel that.
It's a complete honor. Well, to be invited into a shared space with somebody who is exploring their voice. For me, I find it a privilege to be able to hold that space and to just sit back and let the music and the singing and the voice do the work and watch what it does to mobilize parts of people that feels lost or disconnected, or you know, it's really powerful. And I guess for me now, going into music therapy more and working in a children's hospice and seeing music work on that level, I'm quite sort of speechless almost at this point, I suppose, being so new into this particular type of work. But it really is amazing.
Yeah.
We can still find a way to one another when there is so much that's potentially in the way of connecting.
Now I'm going to move us on. I would love for you guys to almost help unlock my listeners a little bit, or help with that at least. Would you be able to share 3 things that my listeners could try to help them to put out a more powerful and strong message to others about their business or about themselves?
Can I share one? I've thought about this a bit. One thing that me and Kelly have realized, I think, along our Songbird journey, and I think this was realized more so within the pandemic. Obviously, we were catapulted into a place where we couldn't go and perform, we couldn't go and sing at weddings, we couldn't, be together. And at that point, we started doing Instagram lives. And we didn't really focus those on vocals particularly. We found quite intrinsically, again, that one, we knew loads of people, quite brilliant people, but quite across a larger sort of subsector, not just vocals. And the feedback we got just from myself and Kelly kind of interviewing, being interviewers, was brilliant. And so I think my sort of piece of advice, the first one would be, your brand is you. And I guess we've heard this from other people, that actually the posts that we find that do the best are the things that have myself and Kelly stamped on them, our personality stamped on them. Yes, obviously they want to hear the singing. That would be the next thing. But your heart,
Yes.
because people don't, and I understand it, you don't want to put your face out there on the brand. You're happy to put your logo, you're happy to say what it is that you're offering, but people don't want to put their face on it. It's nameless, and it can't be, because you are investing and buying into that person, especially when it's a small business.
Quite.
You're spending your money. You want to know who you're giving that money to. I've been in that position. Oh, I like that person. I'm going to go with you out of this and this person. I've had a bit of a connection with you. All right, you get the gig, you get the money. So I think that's something that myself and Kelly have learnt in recent years. We are the draw. Yes, what we offer is, but actually myself and Kelly, we are the thing. So we really do try and lean into that more. And like we sort of said before we started recording, a podcast or doing something is something that we would like to pursue. And it is, I think, for that, with the feedback that we've gotten, people want to hear from us.
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
It's so, this is such a brilliant, it's so cool, because Gemma and I, we work intuitively. So straight away, Joe, when you said, have you prepared? I have a real rub with the word preparation, because it often pulls me away from my intuition, and it makes me search for something outside of myself that I'm trying to meet or impress, or I kind of can't do, I can never prepare much for anything if I want to offer up something of myself. So Gemma and I work intuitively all the time. We rock up in the same clothes intuitively. And because of that, it is us you're getting. It's our true hearts. It's our true connection. And I think just as I was going to say exactly the same as Jem. If you're thinking about being more than what you are, maybe that's the block, right? So if the goal is to try and put out a more powerful message, a more stronger message, maybe you want to do the exact opposite and go, let me do some self-inventory. What do I want to share? Where am I today in this moment? And what do I have to offer? If I don't have anything to offer, is that my offering?
Yeah.
Is my depletion right now? Is my aloneness right now? Is my sense of feeling lost and unsure right now the gift that I need to be sharing to meet somebody where they are right now? If I'm constantly looking to be more than I am I ever going to be offering up something authentically from where I am? Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
It's exactly what Jen was saying. It's exactly the same. You are the greatest gift to this universe in your full glory, in all your mess. That is the heartbeat of what people are going to really and truly connect with.
So before we close, I would love to ask you both just really quite short answers actually on these. First of all, what is the toughest thing about working for yourself?
The lack of certainty.
Yeah.
And stability sometimes, I think.
I think similarly, it's balance, not saying yes to everything and then everything else in your life just having to take a back seat. So trying to get some kind of balance between, trying to get that stability, be fulfilled, but also tend to yourself in there as well.
Yeah, it's quite a lot of stuff we have to do behind the scenes, isn't it? And, that barometer, who says what's balanced and what's not? And you've got to kind of find that answer, haven't you? And before you make the yes or the no, and then throw into it, what are people going to think? Am I going to disappoint? Oh, all the things. And what is the best thing about working for yourselves?
Well, I think for me it's just doing something I love, it's doing something that I've said before that feels very much like a vocation, not because I have to do it. There's real joy and fulfillment and purpose. I think living a life that feels purposeful for me is the best thing about being able to do what we do and what I do as a job.
That's really special. And that's not an answer you'd come up with in school, is it? When people say, what do you want to do when you grow up? That is what we need. That's got the depth. That's got the heart. Wonderful. And Kelly?
I think I second everything Jem said. Alongside freedom, and the space to kind of create your own schedule and weave your work around your other life commitments, I think that's a real gift. I've just taken a really sensible job, which has a lot of structure to it for the first time in my life. So I think the idea of having to book holiday is a foreign concept to me. So I think there's something beautiful in the freedom of being able to just be spontaneous and change things up quickly if you need to, and all of that.
We're super lucky with it. I think we are. It's strange because I guess neither me or Kelly we've never lived a different life. But when you do listen to friends or family or see, you know, the lives that they lead, and like you said, the lack of freedom, the rigidity, all the things that you have to consider, we're very, very blessed to be able to, to have sort of freedoms, and for things to perhaps be set for a little while, but actually in a few months they might be entirely different. And whilst that is sometimes quite anxiety inducing, it's a really privileged and lovely position to be in, that things can just change on the dime.
And I think because we are strong enough to allow that sense of uncertainty, maybe sometimes that fear and what have you, I think we're rewarded by those opportunities, then having that space to drop into our life, actually. So, you know, I think you make your own luck, if you like, much to be embraced. It's wonderful. And the final question that I end every podcast episode on is this. As you know, my business is called How Does She Do It? But I believe that she doesn't do it all, at least not all at the same time. So could you tell me one thing that you do, or perhaps one thing that you don't do anymore, to ensure that you do remain on track, healthy and happy?
Well, I think what one I do now, which is a very new thing for me, is say no. I think, again, like we've touched on, it's really easy to say yes to everything in this industry because you are self-employed, because you think if I say no, are they going to offer again? And I think for both me and Kelly, we have journeyed through and said, right, this is not aligning. This doesn't feel right. This isn't right for me and my family. Whatever the reasons are, saying no is now something that I think myself and Kelly really do try and live by these days. You know, and that is a very new journey, I think, for both of us in many ways. But saying no feels really important now, and trusting that within those no's, something and what we want will come to us because we've said no to some things that we've perhaps usually said yes to.
Yeah.
I love that. That's mine as well. Alongside approval, I don't any longer seek approval for the decisions I make from anyone other than maybe Gem. I might lean into if I really want to be like, okay, I've done this, or I'm going to do this. Can I have your approval? Yeah, go on. I might need a bit of Dutch courage here and then, but I have a very tiny camp of people that I reach out to in those wobbly moments. But I genuinely look to myself now rather than outside of myself for that kind of validation and approval when I want to make a decision that's in my best interest.
Quite right too. That inner strength, that inner knowing and belief, actually. And yeah, that's a really strong position to be in. I love it. Gosh, I have loved every minute of our conversation, and I'm just so genuinely grateful that you have spent this time with me today. I've learned so much. I've been inspired, as I knew I would be. I would like to continue this. Can we please go to in the new year? Let me come and see you. Let's meet up in London. I would love to. I'd love to continue the conversation. You girls are just beautiful, incredible, and such amazing women to look up to and to learn from. And I'm just so grateful to know you both. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you've enjoyed it.
It has been so lovely. It's always a joy for us to look back and to reflect and to connect. And it's just been a morning full of that. So thank you for having us here. And we'd love to come back. Gemma and I can talk for days, and there's so much to share, so much to say, but it's been so lovely.
And before we leave, I need to ask if there's anything that you'd like to share with my audience that you've got coming up. And also, you've got to tell us where we can find you on social media.
So we are really excited to share with your beautiful listeners. We are performing in the first quarter of next year. If you'd like to come and see us, come hear us sing, we will be at Pizza Express Holborn on Sunday, the 2nd of April, 2023. So follow us on our socials. Gemma will provide you our handle and details. But yeah, we're gigging and we are so excited. It's a big one for us next year. It's our 10-year little anniversary of setting up Songbird. So we're going to get out and perform loads. So come see us. We love, love, love to have you.
We're so excited to be out there performing. I think next year for us we want it to be a year of performing. So hopefully we're kicking it off with Pizza Express. So you can find us at songbirdSessions.com. That's our website, and on Insta, because that's probably the main social media tool that we use. We are at Songbird Sessions. So come say hi.
Fabulous. Go follow them, everybody. And I'm very, very excited to hear about Pizza Express. I think I might be there. I might have to book and come. Well, thank you so much. And I wish you both a wonderful week ahead and hope to see you in person very soon. Thank you so much for listening today. I really hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, I'd love you to take a moment to share and subscribe too. Come and join me over at How Does She Do It Life on both Facebook and Instagram. And until we speak again, I wish you a wonderful week ahead.